Hello, 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 everyone. It's Father Aaron, the Dungeon Minister. I'm sorry I'm late. I was putting the boys to bed, and we started telling jokes. And and started remembering goofy Lord of the Rings videos, the Lord of the Rings videos. And so we got laughing pretty hard. Here's a joke. Two guys are at a bar, and they're getting a little drunk, like you do. They start arguing about who's tougher, who's stronger. Yeah, I'm a lot stronger than you. Yeah, I'm a lot stronger than you. Okay. The bartender wants to close up. So he's like, guys, take it outside. Take it outside. So, all right, will. Out they go. The first guy says, I show you I'm stronger. I can throw this rock farther than you. Picks up a rock. Chucks it. There's a field next to the bar. Chucks that rock. And it goes 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 yards, thunk to the ground. Another guy says, oh, yeah. And he picks up a rock, about the same size, and he chucks it 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 yards, thunks to the ground, about the same spot. Oh, all right. And there's some construction happening. So there's a bunch of planks of wood. Guy grabs a 2x4, 8-foot long 2x4, and he's like a javelin. He's going to throw this thing. Hoo-ah! 20, 40, 30. 20, 30, 40. Yeah, 20, 30, 40. I got my numbers right. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards thunk to the ground. Another guy, yeah, I could do that. Chucks it. 20, same distance. Thump, thump, into the ground. There's a bunch of bricks. And I says, this will sort it, and picks up a brick. Watch this. He chucks that thing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, or boom, to the ground. The other guy says, oh, yeah. Picks one up, and he really limbers himself up. Oh, you're going to do this. And he winds up, and he chucks it 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 yards, 110, 120, 130. The brick just keeps going, and it doesn't come down. I love that one. Doesn't come down. Does not come down. Yeah. Anyway, hey, who's out there tonight? We got Hungar and DBT, Dirty Basement Terrain. How you doing, Hungar? I gotta tell you, I wish you could come, brother. I know it's not really not a possibility for you right now, but we'd love to have you. And if you did come, you could stay in the church house. You could stay in Alban House. Well, we got a fold-out bed. It's all yours. Orbital Air, how you doing? Dirty Basement. Hello, BS Games. I gotta tell you, Dirty Basement, Lawrence, your stuff, very cool. Everything in the auction, just about everything in the auction, sold. The only thing that didn't, oddly, was Yoda's house. Oh, I've got Yoda's house now, which is cool. And it'll show up somewhere, I'm sure. And I put a lot of minis. So first of all, hello, Lightmane. Hello, Bargle, the infamous. You know what, Bargle? I'm sorry you missed the con too. I did take your name in vain. not enough mealworms on it. Somebody, though, one woman bought the baby head altar. I put the fire with the rot grubs out toasting around it. I put that with the baby head altar. It's not a direct correlation, but I just thought it goes together. She bought that. She bought the golem, the mealworm, the mealworm golems. She bought the Venus flytraps. She bought the, thank you, Hungar. Thank you very much. She bought, what was the other thing? Oh, the columns. She bought all of the columns. Like, she was all about your stuff. And she asked, does he do commissions? Because I like it to do something. But everyone was saying your stuff's amazing. And the minis, again, as you'd said, everyone gets a mini. Everyone got a mini. I put them in a basket. And I put a little mix in there. There were some really small, there were some big. So people who got there early did have an advantage. I thought people leaving with ogres, ogres as big as I went on the free minis. But everyone's picking minis, and people were like, well, this is astonishing. This is really good stuff. Really, really good paint jobs. And they are. They're really good paint jobs. And Fleetwood, I think you saw it. Fleetwood bought 2 trolls, and he left them on the table. And I put it on Facebook. I think just Facebook. Maybe I put it on X as well, or Twix. But he posed them one behind the other. And of course, it's because they're minis are mass manufactured minis. They're all in the same. They're both in the same position, and it looked for all the world like the "I Can't Dance" video from Genesis. That walk they do, because they're stretching out like this. They look very funny. Yeah, I saw that you'd seen it. Go to bed. You know what? I am not actually. I got last night, because the con finished yesterday at about 5, and it was 2.5 hours of cleanup. So during the cleanup, well, first of all, let me rewind. Fleetwood came. Sorry, a little bit of con crud maybe. Fleetwood came Saturday. He missed Friday night, the opening dinner, because he had violin lessons. Greetings, grumpy old Slan. He had violin lessons on Friday night. Saturday morning, they had the group violin lessons, and then they all came for the non-payers. Never. He came in, and they all gamed in the afternoon, and then because he's the oldest, and because he was missing the Friday, he got to stay for Saturday night and do a game, which meant he was up late. But I took him over. He's going to stay at the parish house. It's no longer where the priest lives, unfortunately. But I slept downstairs on a sofa, and I wanted him to have some privacy, So there was a room upstairs. We rent the rooms upstairs to therapists. I have a therapy business up there. Hello, Jeff. Jeff, did you get a hold of SideQuest? Because he's got your stuff. Hello, Steve. I look exhausted. I got a good night's sleep. That's just insulting now, Steve. So I put him upstairs. Anyway, one of those 2 rooms that was empty was just refurbished, new flooring, paint job, the whole 9 yards. They haven't moved the furniture back, and I asked them, would it be okay if and they said, yeah, go ahead and use it. So he was sleeping in there. And when I took him up there, he's 15, right? Took him up there. He's like, it's like my own apartment. And I could see there was a little this would be what it would be like to be a young gentleman with his own apartment kind of thing. Anyway, the next day we have church and the whole 9 yards. We're cleaning up afterward. Excellent. Good, Jeff. We're cleaning up afterward. And I asked him to take, there's a little folding table. It was a table that the video game, the arcade game was on. And I asked him to take that over and I just put it back in the office. I gave him my keys to open the office. He takes it over, and he took a long time. But okay. And so he comes back, and later that evening, my wife, Fofire, arrives with a car because we have a dog, so she couldn't just stay at the con like she normally would. The dog would be going crazy. So anyway, she comes back and we're loading the car up, and I realize I don't have my keys. I can't lock the hall. I can't lock the house. Now, there's a couple who live in the basement of the house. They can lock the house. But the hall, like grapes, I have to, get someone to come over and lock the hall and everything. And I'm searching all over for them. And I said, did you give me my keys back? And he's like, I don't remember. And then we're thinking, oh, cripes. Because after he did that, I had some stuff to do. So the boys were outside running around, goofing around. Like, oh, they were in his pocket and they flew out. And I'm, where are these keys? And it's dark out. Anyway, this morning I go back. And I'm looking around on the ground for the keys, in the hall, in my office, everywhere. And then I think, I wonder. And I go upstairs, and they're sitting on a shelf up there. And I know what happened. I know what happened. He denies this, but I know this happened. He went in, he put the table away, and then he was like, I'm going to go back to my apartment. Adorable. It's adorable. Like 15, you're at that age where you start to want to differentiate and move away, and you want to have your own thing, and he was all set for it. Anyway, so I got the keys. So this morning, I was searching for the keys, and after I found them, I thought, I should start bringing some stuff home, because I couldn't get into my office. I was just there wasn't enough room in the car, so I was just gonna load everything into my office. Not being able to get into my office because I had stupidly pulled the door closed at one point and locked. I just piled it all in the library there, and it included some things because the woman who won the baby head altar, she had gone, right? And she had asked before. She said, look, if I win and I'm not here, can I still get it? I said, yeah. We'll just arrange a time. They don't live far away. You can come and grab it. And the guy who won the necromancer's tower, covered with skulls, he lives close by, and he wasn't there when he won. So I messaged him and let him know, So I had all these things. Let's put these in the church library, shall we? This altar of baby heads with blood pouring out of a thing into their heads, and mealworms all over it and things like that. So it was funny. So that was the only thing that woke me up this morning. You get up, gentlemen of a certain age, you get up early for the call of nature, but then you go back to bed and you can usually fall back asleep. I couldn't this because I was just turning over my head. Where could those keys be? Where could those keys be? But I got a good 8 hours last night. I went to bed at 11 o'clock, which is the first time in a long time that I have seen bed before 1 a.m. Okay. So that was good. At the con, not so much. Let me rewind. Sorry. I've got, I don't know if it's con crud or not, but I've got something going on, and it isn't pleasant. I want to get in some, let me first tell the story of the con. So this con, I have to say, maybe I'm getting old and just slowing down. Maybe I'm just a bit stressed out in, non-convention terms. Maybe I'm just, maybe I took things for granted this year, having done it twice and it went well. I was like, yeah, I got this. I went into this unprepared. I will admit, I was not as prepared as I should have been. Things I should have nailed down weeks ahead of time, I kept putting off, and I thought, I got that whole week. I got 2 whole weeks. You know how that is when you've got too much time, and you say, I've got gobs of time, and then it's the day before. So I was running around getting stuff done. It still worked, but boy, not pleasant. I went to the but so Friday it starts out. I got in the hall at noon, which was scheduled. Started setting things up, hanging the curtains to dampen the sound, the tables set up and everything going on and on. And the badges, I had done the badges ahead of time, thankfully. And people started to arrive. And that's always the best. When people start to arrive, you go, okay, it's going now. And I'm going to be engaged in enough stuff that I really can't worry about prep stuff now. I just have to go now. Let's just do it. And I love that. One of the things I found out about myself last year is that I love when I have set things to do to help make a situation, help make an event happen, help make a situation work. Hello, good evening, John Stewart Keller. I love that when I've got stuff that I can focus on, like here the vendors are here and they need to set up here, they need to set up there, and we need this available for them, and we're going to get the food. I got to get the pop. I got to get enough cans of pop over to the second venue. I got to get enough frozen food there. I dig that kind of stuff. I should have been a stage manager or something. So once people start arriving, well, then there's that everyone's got to get a badge, and you got to check them off the list and get them the badge. I love that stuff. It was a lot of fun. Well, I will get to that, Grumpy. Well, that's a good. Yeah, you do. And the funny thing is, like with me, the first time I do something, it usually goes pretty well because I'm not going to be modest. I'm a clever guy. I'm a capable guy, and I'm a bloody lucky guy. I really am. I will fail forward my entire life. It just But the second time, usually the second time, in this case the third, it wasn't even the third. It went very well actually. But usually what happens with you, the first time it goes well, the second time's a disaster because I think, oh, I can do that, and so I coast. This time, it still went well, but I was just so tired. More tired than last year, which surprised me. But I am a year older too. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, when people start arriving, you start doing stuff, and that's a lot of fun. I like getting in with that. The dinner, beautiful again, really good food. A truffled chicken, with potatoes, mashed potatoes that were made with real potatoes. They were real potatoes, but they had the same creaminess of those ones made with the flakes. Like there wasn't a lump in sight. There wasn't a lump in those potatoes. They're delicious. The chef, Eduardo, a chef named Eduardo, I mean, come on. He has cooked for the Pope, and Oprah, so yeah, it's pretty good. He just happens to live down the street in Glen Williams, and they rent our hall as the kitchen for their catering because it's an inspected kitchen. It's a big, good kitchen. It's a great kitchen, and has a big oven, it's a big stove, 2 ovens, lots of burners. He can do a big old thing, and it works well. Sometimes they have dinners there. Sometimes they do fundraisers for the church, and I hired them. So the dinner went really well, and then the games. The first opening game, I don't know how the other ones went because I was running a game. We had 4 tables. I could get a 5th table the opening night. Well, the Pope was there this year, but his character died, and he threw a fit, and storming out. Oprah canceled at the last minute, but that's just what she's like. Anyway, so my opening game was a lot of fun. I had great players. They all really, entered into it and Slan played a hilarious fighter. He chose a fighter with an intelligence of 6 and a wisdom of 5 or something. So it's just, other characters are having to grab him and aim him toward the battle. No, that way. Just he had one move, full charge. It was hilarious. That was a lot of fun, and I got to play with some people like Slan and Catherine, who had played in my games in previous years, and new people I had never played with before. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Went really well, and we lost half of the party. Popra, yeah, 6 intelligence, 5 wisdom. Like grew a fray, yes. We lost half the party, not a TPK, but a, PTPK, partly total, partial PPK, partial party kill. It was pretty fun. I think we were the first on the Wall of Heroes. The Wall of Heroes where you tape up your fallen character sheet, the sheet for your dead character. That was pretty funny. And then that night, it was a late night because there were a lot of dishes left over from the dinner. If I could do anything, so here's something for next year. Maybe I get somebody to be on dish duty after the dinner. I mean, obviously the staff is. The caterers did a lot of the dishes, but because you've just had dinner, you're like half total party kill. Because you've just had dinner, you still have your drink, you still have a glass of water, you still have and so there was cider, things like that. So people kept those. So there was a bunch of those to do. And the caterers had long since left, right? So I ended up doing dishes again. Yeah, you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world. It isn't going to kill me. I kind of like that. Failed to kill any characters in the game I ran. Well, that probably means you had pretty savvy players too. Leave half of your party to lie about what really happened in the adventure. Yes. So I did that, and then just some other things I needed to hammer out for the next day. One of which was to move my computer into the room where we did the live streaming, because we were going to live stream 3 games on the Saturday, and I had thought I would have Friday to do that, but Friday I was doing all the things I should have done earlier in the week or the week before. So after I washed dishes, I was moving the computer, which takes a while. All of the cords and all of the stuff. So moving that over, setting all that up. Well, yes, Lan, I will get that on the delegation. It just didn't. It took a while, and then I was still keyed up from the con, so and it wasn't particularly comfortable. I'm sorry, Slan, for having you sleep on that before, because it's really not a very comfortable sofa. It's so slippery. It's this faux leather, this pleather stuff. And I'm, woo. But I got like 2 hours of sleep the first night. Yeah, it's not good. Second day starts out with a breakfast. The men with spatulas and the men with brooms. Wash them. The men with spatulas breakfast, which is a lot of fun. The community members come down for that. So of course there's these people who walk in who are used to coming here once a month for this breakfast, right? And then they come and there's it's curtains up and all this, a video game playing Gauntlet in the front room, and every attendee gets a free mini. What do I get? Why do I want this zombie mini? What would I, and then they walk in, baby head blood fountain, Tower of Skulls, all this weird stuff. So that was funny, but a very, very good breakfast. And then I went over with a guy who by a friend of mine delegating to set up the second space. We got that set up, got the food over there. Here's the first thing. The second space works brilliantly. It worked as a space. Once it was going, I didn't have to worry about it. And I hired somebody to be there, Gabe, who was there serving food until about midday when we switched, and he could come over because he wanted to see the vendors and to, part of what I kind of got him in with is there going to be cool vendors. You can buy stuff. There's going to be, so he came over and switched places with the other person who I hired, Sarah, and she brought her sister. They were working. They didn't start until like around the lunch hour at the hall. And then they moved over to the town hall, the parish hall. Then they moved over to the town hall, and they took over the food there. Now, here's a funny story. Gabe was working hard. He's doing the job. He's making the pizzas. He's making the taquitos. He's making the burritos. He's serving up the chips and the pop, all this stuff. They're doing the same job. At the end of the day, and I'm collecting the money, they're saying there's a bit extra in there because people were giving us tips. Now, Gabe wasn't getting any tips. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Gabe wasn't getting any tips. 2 pretty young women, they're getting tips. Room full of middle-aged guys, of course they are. I just thought that was funny. But anyway, so I did. I actually hired 2 people, but got 3 because her sister happened to be there. I hired 2 people to run the food. And then I had Ryan helping me set up and tear down. Now, therein hangs a tale. I had imagined there would be more time to do the unloading, and I'd be able to get back to the hall on time. I'd imagined that would be easier. So next year, what I need is someone who is second venue lieutenant. And it is their job to load in. It is their job to load out. It is their job to make sure the place is clean and tidy for the, so that I don't get dinged on the security deposit. And this is part of my, because I'm the one who doesn't get the security deposit back, I want to have a last look. Right? I have to trust somebody to do that. So there's that. And the other thing is, in the sense of the host, right? As the place was closing down Friday night and people saw me gathering glasses, first of all, lots of people helped bringing glasses into the kitchen. But people said, we want help washing them. And I said, no, I got it. Because I'm the host, right? I've got that sort of, I'm the host. You don't, ask your guests to do dishes. So next year, one of the things I'm going to do is in the registration process, on the registration form, there will be a choice. Would you like to volunteer? And a drop-down menu of the kind of things. I don't know if they do drop-down menus. Yeah, they do. Of course they do. The games are that way. Of the kinds of roles that might be. Tech help, cleaning up, heavy lifting, that kind of stuff. We don't have that many heavy things, but, so that I can, there are people who have agreed to do a specific thing, and they've said, I'll do that. The other thing about volunteering, I did have somebody on tap who was going to come and help out running the live streams and doing some other stuff as a volunteer, but he couldn't get there, physically could not get there. He tried getting a ride, and it just didn't happen. And so he was willing, but the gas was weak or whatever. The wheels were weak, I guess. It didn't happen. So, yeah, 2 lieutenants. Actually, that's what Touchberry said. He said you should have 2 people, and you should be, I think if I can have someone at the second space, I'm fine, managing the first. Because really, when it comes down to it, once it's going, there's not a lot for me to do. There was the first year because I didn't know the things that I would need. This year, once it was going, I really didn't. There wasn't a lot that I needed to have to keep this plates spinning. I mean, this year, I ran 3 games and played 2 others, so I was busy every slot. Now, when I played, I did well in the Clayorama. The nature of it is you take turns, but the turn, it's not like in D&D where you're, okay, that's my turn. There was really some serious thought put into it and whole scenarios played out. So I was able to get up and take some pictures. That's kind of the only thing, and order lunch. That's the only things I did. Taking pictures was the only sort of running the con thing I did while playing the game. But so Saturday, though, and once we got that loaded in at the hall and it was going, and I knew Gabe was on it and he was figuring stuff out over there. Hey, you have a good night, DBT. I am crazy. I will give you that. Your stuff is a big part of why it was a success and what was so cool about it. So thank you for 2 enormous boxes of minis and of terrain. Thank you very much. I got a little crud, Clumsy Crusader. Wow, that's hard to say. I have a little crud, Clumsy Crusader. I got a bit of it. I recognize that profile picture, but it's not from the name Clumsy Crusader. So anyway, I once it was up and running, and I knew Gabe had it. It was good. Um, the lieutenants I have are my boys, and I wanted to get them to bed, earlier. My boys should go to bed when Dirty Basement Terrain goes to bed, right? Not when I go to bed. So the once it was up and running, it was good. I had the morning live stream game, and it had been that game had been. Hey, Road March, how you doing? That game had been Hexed Press's game, and he was scheduled in to play it, and he was going to run his game Troop Doomsday. I think Troop is the game and Doomsday is the setting. The Troop is the mechanic, Doomsday is the setting. I think that's how that works. Anyway, about a week, maybe it's been more than a week. Yeah, it was more than a week. It was a little ways out. He discovered he couldn't come, and like, oh shoot. First of all, because I really like Todd, and he's a great guy, and it's nice to have up there. But like, okay. And I looked around at the schedule, and oh man, all the other DMs within a relatively busy slot, and some of the other DMs, were playing in games. So even if they weren't running something, they were playing in something. And again, I don't want to take things away from people. And I thought, you know what, I'll run something in that session. It'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? Actually, it turned out fine. And actually, the game went really well. I would like to have been there to better manage the transition from that breakfast into the games, but I did talk to a couple of guys who were just there. And I said, could you put the tables together? I authorize you, put the tables together, get the numbers on them, and I walked around to the tables of villagers and parishioners who were having breakfast. And I said, just to let you know, the games are starting in about 10 minutes. So get your butt moving. I didn't say that. Hey, John, how you doing? Tale of a Manticore. First of all, guys, there's a whole load of awesome YouTubers in this list and podcasters. So go, look up the list and jot them down, type them out. Right click, open a new tab. Do that because there's some awesome people here. Yeah, I got them setting that up. So it actually, I think it worked out about as well as it could work out. And I was running a game. I was supposed to have 4 people, but at the last minute, it's 2 friends who were coming together, so they couldn't come. So I ended up with a table of 2. But it really was fun. Daxon and Chad, Daxon Caudle and Chad with a G. It's Italian. I can't say Gilliam. Maybe it's English. Gilliams. Anyway, 2 great guys, really good gamers, tactical, thoughtful, observant. Although at one point, one of them picked up on a clue that the other one didn't, and he said something, but it was in kind of crosstalk, so the other one didn't hear it. And at the end, when the clue turns out to be like, the one guy's like, I told you. No, you didn't. You never said it. It was funny, but it went really well. That went really well. It was probably, of the 3 adventures I ran, that one I think was the best constructed, and I'm actually putting it together for patrons. I'm going to put it up on Patreon. Hey, there's Midnight Slayer. I knew that was you, Midnight. I knew that was you. So I got out of that game and back over to the hall where things were happening. Our game was it 3.5 hours, 2.5 hours? It wasn't real long. Long enough, but not real long. So I got over there, and some of the games were still running, and there actually was a nice period of breathing space for me. That was the first time since the con started that I could go, oh, that's nice. I got a few things tidied up, organized. Everything was working, but it was leaving a mess behind it, right, of paperwork and things everywhere. So I tidied all that up in time to go play in the Hardy Boys game by David Rollins. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. It is so cool. The sort of archetypes, and Bob Johnny also played, and he was great. He played some really cool stuff because they had, the onion eating contest. Of course, how could I forget the onion eating contest? The first year, it was Touchberry and Slan. The second year, there was a group of guys. This year, it was Touchberry and Bear. It's like, and Bear gets up. God bless him. He had to be kind of cajoled into doing it. But when he gets up, he says, "Come on, aren't any of you men? Aren't any of you men?" You know, which I was going to say, but I thought probably would be rude for the host to say it. But Bear can say anything because he's Bear. But nobody else wanted to do it, probably wisely. A number of people said, "What color onions?" I said, "White." They said, "Nope." So that's the point. If it was a yellow onion, it would be easy. If it was a red onion, you'd be laughing. It's got to be a white onion. Anyway. So in the great showdown, Touchberry came out on top. Bear tapped out. He's like, "This is disgusting. Why am I doing this to myself?" And later, when he's playing his game, because I had to go in and start the live stream, right? So I went in there and he said, "Do you have anything, like any gum or anything?" I said, "Oh, Mentos." Because I bought Mentos. And the idea was that the winner gets a trophy stuffed full of breath mints, Tic Tacs, Mentos, all kinds of stuff. But then I had a roll of Mentos for every contestant. He was the only one. And I think because he was the only one, I sort of forgot to give him the Mentos. Like, "Oh, yeah, here's your Mentos." Anyway, back over. Played in the Hardy Boys game. So much fun. And Bob Johnny did really well in that. And that was when Touchberry was playing in Slan. I think did Touchberry play in your game, Slan? I thought he did. And Fleetwood took part in, he played in a Traveler game over, no, that was the Bandit, no. Yeah, it was Bandits Keeps game over in the hall, in the town hall. They're both called the hall. He was over at the town hall for his game. Those wrapped up. Everyone seemed to be doing well. The Dragonlance game had the endurance test. It was just running and running and running. It's a big game. It's the first game that guy Rick, is great guy, really good gamer. He's a dream player. He takes notes. He plays smart. He plays in character. He's a great player. He's a good DM too. He's a great DM too. But this was the first time he'd run for a con. So you got a chunk of time, and you kind of have to finish, right? So it takes some experience running at a con. I know the first year when I ran the first CleriCon, we ran from 8 o'clock till after midnight. Like that's too long. I was younger, so I was fine. We were all younger. We were fine. But anyway, and last year I ran too long for my Friday night game then too. And that was like, "Oh, okay, we're dragging." But he was, and people were still engaged. It was a good game. They were enjoying it. It's just like the rest of us are like, so let's see. Both Bear and I will not take part again. Touchberry will be running through all gallant men. So that's all in the continent. So here we go. Yeah, gallant men. Well, we'll get a gallant woman up there too. "Howdy, Robert. How are you doing? Great old worm, white onions. Yonder comes a breath weapon." Yes, well, they did have. That's why they had the Mentos. And Touchberry finished all of his mints by the end of the game afterward. Like he ate a full roll of Mentos, an entire thing of Tic Tacs, an entire thing of, it's a different kind of mint. I can't remember the brand name, and chewed through a whole pack of gum, of Excel gum. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, they did. Friends of Fleetwood's from high school, and one of the kids, I didn't see much. I think he had games over in the town hall, but the one kid had games exclusively at the church hall, and the politest kid you'd ever want to meet. He's rail thin. Imagine if Mackenzie Crook in the British office didn't look weird, but still had that intensity, very intensity to his face. Polite. That kid thanked me more times. At one point, I was like, "Kid, stop thanking me." Stop thanking me. Thank Rob anyway. But he was such a polite kid, such a good kid. Um, yes, I do know, and I recognize that, Grumpy. God bless both of you. God bless both of you. And I had to do that too with my third game. I do have to tell you what happened in that second slot. So we get going with the Hardy Boys. I'm sitting down, I'm learning about the system because it's a new game. And someone comes over and says, have you seen Michael yet? Have you seen Michael? Because he's not here. He's running a game. He's not here. I'm like, whoa, what? Okay. And I realize the only contact I have for him is email. So another learning, get phone numbers for all the DMs next year. So I sent him an email. Said, are you coming? We're kind of worried. Are you okay? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. It's like UNICEF. You sponsor a poor gaming kid for the price of a cup of coffee a day, very generously, as a matter of fact. Where's it going now? Yes. So we don't have a DM. And I'm like, oh, cripes. And I say, well, it's already like 15 minutes past. It's like, I'll run something. So I go and I grab my bag and I'm setting up. I'm handing out character sheets, pre-gens, which were supposed to be used for another game. But here you go. And I'm tracking my brain. Should I rerun the opening night game? Because I know it pretty well. I've done it, right? I know it. I've done it. I know the beats, and I know how to shorten it because we've now dropped by this point about 20 minutes. And I'm like, or should I just run something I've run in the past for other groups? What, blah, 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 blah. And in walks Michael. He just had a snafu, one of those things you couldn't, and he didn't have a phone number for me either. But he walks in, and I'm at the table and facing the entrance. And it's like the moment when Arwen comes to Frodo and the light is around her. I have never been so happy to see a man in my life. If I thought he wouldn't have screamed, I would have kissed him. So in they come, and he comes, and it just was thank God. I scooted back to my game to play it, which was very good. It was very good. We had so then after the second session games, we did the prize drawing for Conan, the game, and hey, Craig Bragg, Mr. Four Color Concept, which I hear is also a great new game. So lots of new stuff being played. And we had so we had Conan. Book was one, and the other one was Dirty Basement. He's gone to bed, but Dirty Basement Terrain's creepy baby head ornament. No, that's not it. No, that was on the silent auction. It was a Dirty Basement Terrain's Beholder. And the person who won it, I said, be incredibly careful. It is very delicate. Because it's got these little eye stalks. But yeah, so that was fun. And then we had another round of games. The Beholder, yes. And for that one I ran. I ran an adventure set in the keep on the Northern Sea. If you follow my recaps at all, you'll know that this partially built ruined keep on the Northern Sea is a sort of focal point of several adventures. It was set in that keep 200 years before the events of the Honeywood campaign. So it was set in a time when the keep was being built. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And that one ended up just so silly. At one point, there was a halfling and a cleric hanging by ropes down a crack in the ground into a cavern, swinging like piñatas as a ghoul clambered along the ceiling, attacking them. And of course, every time the ghoul hit them, even if he didn't do damage, they'd go swinging around. So tracking, one of them was spinning. The cleric was just spinning, and the halfling was bobbing around like crazy and trying to hit the ghoul. As I pass, can I hit the ghoul? It's like, well, roll a hit, but you're going to have a massive penalty to hit because, of course, you can't control where your body is. You can control what your body's doing, but you can't control where your body is. That was so much fun. It was so silly. That one they did not finish. They didn't finish that one, but it didn't matter. It was just funny and fun. And I just told them how what was coming. They were this close, but the last battle would have been pretty big. It would have been probably a half hour at least to play out because it was to be very, very complicated. So they didn't play it, but it was fun. It was a fun session. And that night I got a bit more sleep. I still had to stay up late because, again, pre-planning, stupid. I realized I hadn't prepared for church the next morning. Like I had the con all set, but I didn't have the bulletin ready for church the next morning. So I had to sit up doing that. And that's when Fleetwood went upstairs and bedded down on the cot. And I sat up and did the bulletin and everything like that. But then the next day, Sunday, of course, wake up, I open the hall, and Fleetwood had agreed to staff the Fleetwood's cabinet of Fleetwood's cabinet of curiosities, which is the consignment table. Again, if you watch the recaps, Fleetwood, I don't actually mention this as often as I should. I kind of forget this detail. When they kill anything unusual, he takes a body part or a souvenir. He's got dragon's teeth, and he's got lizard scales and tongues and all sorts of weird stuff in his pouch and at home. Well, yeah. So the Cthulhu. There's two Cthulhu games. Yes, there was John's, and there was Fleetwood ran one on Sunday morning. So Fleetwood's Cabinet of Curiosities is the consignment table, rummage sale for used, stuff, and a whole bunch of minis, courtesy of Dirty Basement Terrain, ended up there. A lot of games, some dice that the bear brought, and Slan the man has organized and run that all 3 years of this con, and does a brilliant job of it. He keeps track of who brought what, who bought what, and it's a fabulous thing. He was going to be for Sunday morning, IQ, Intellectual Quandary, and Ye Old Geek, and he were going to go see the Niagara Falls. And so he was going to be away for the morning. Okay, the game sessions don't start till 1, but the hall was open for pickup gaming, and it's just good to have someone watching over things and to keep an eye on, frankly, on the vendors' tables to make sure that nothing goes missing from their tables. I had a great time having you, Craig. It was great to meet you and to have you playing in games and running a game too, which I understand again did very well. So Fleetwood, I got Fleetwood to watch. I voluntold him to watch that stuff for the early service, and then he came to the later one, because by the time the later one came, there were vendors coming in, and they could return the favor and watch the consignment table, because he was leading the prayers of the people that Sunday. But after church, I went in, and there was a pickup game of the Hardy Boys running. Oh, okay. So you're taking the Brits to the falls one at a time. That way, if you push them in, there's no witness. Smart. Yes, midnight. You got to come up. It's be awesome to meet you. Be awesome to meet you. Where is it? Is it? No, I think Fleetwood's got it. I was going to pull it onto camera. I was going to see. No, I don't have it. You could run. What's the name of it? The name of the superhero game? Oh, good heavens. Okay. I know it. It's on my, anyway. You know the name of the superhero game better than I do, clearly. Anyway, yeah, so the vendors, repaid the favor. The neat thing is, after church, the parishioners come over for coffee hour, not 5e. No, no. Villains and vigilantes. Thank you. I knew it was. I kept thinking Mighty Men and Monsters, but that's the Mighty Men and Monster Maker thing with the crayon and the paper, and you put tiles down and you rub over it, and then you get the picture. Anyway. Hey, good night, John. You have a good one. So the parishioners come over to the church for coffee hour, and so they'd lay down treats for coffee hour, and it was a parishioner's birthday, and so there was a cake, very lemony, very tasty. But so there's, again, these church folks coming in, and I warned them in church. I said, when you go over there for coffee hour, just be aware. I'm running a convention. I did the same thing last couple of years. You know what I'm talking about. Some of the items on the auction table are particularly interesting this year. It's so funny with Lawrence's stuff, because of these little houses that he makes, these cottagey kind of houses, and they're charming and lovely. And then there's the bloody baby heads. You're like, how does the mind that makes this also make that? But anyway, one guy was just sitting there like, he had his arms full. It's just amazing. It all looks real. And I know BS Games, I think, sold a couple games to a parishioner who saw them. Oh, that's good. Last year, no, it was at the breakfast. I think he sold the games. Last year, he sold some at coffee hour. It was, wasn't it? It was really good. Our one AD&D Saturday morning game, our party killed a black dragon. Cool. Yes, Paul brought. He was listed as Vince because he uses that name online, but he brought all this terrain, and it was really cool. It was like 4 bins of it that he loaded into the town hall. Yeah, that was very cool. And there was a 100 Years War battle game happening, huge table, but I knew the town hall, because there were no vendors there. It had a little extra room. I could have big tables there. Then then they are, I think they see the intent. Yes, there's weird monster things, and everybody has a beard, and they don't quite get all of the why of it, necessarily. Some of them do, but mostly not. But what they see is the intent. It's like making a community, helping people sort of find their tribe and gather, and so they're like, okay, that we can get behind, right? Plus, you're just a bunch of good people, right? You're just a bunch of good guys, good women. It's just like, hey, yeah, of course you're going to be welcoming of these folks. But they're a good. My parishioners are a good bunch. And then the Sunday games, the Sunday 1:00 games went off, and I played in the Clayorama run by John. I wish I'd been quicker, more expeditious in my description. I could have gotten to this. That was so much fun. I wish more people had signed up for it. I think people didn't quite know what it was going to be about. It was written by Zeb Cook. It was back in Dragon Magazine in the 70s or 80s or something. It's so much fun. It's absurd and silly. And Scott from BS Games, and his daughter played, uh, and a couple of others, myself included, and oh, it it was so silly. It was so silly and absurd and fun. You model little monsters out of Play-Doh, and then you assign stats to them, or you assign attacks to them, and the referee tells you what those attacks are worth and all those kinds of things. And, this structure. And then you have them fight. You roll dice to see what happens. I wondered how the fighting was going to work if we had to actually, but no, you just heave your monster up next to another one. You roll dice, but then when you hit, etc., you then do damage on the other, and then you can do missile weapons. So we're throwing Play-Doh around. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. It was a lot of fun. And Fleetwood ran his Call of Cthulhu. He also his game was also a victim of people who had to either cancel entirely or had to leave early, and which is a shame because I've played it. I've played the game. I played the game that he ran for them, and it's a really fun game. It's a really fun game. Hey, Robert, you have a good night. Thank you again. Thank you again. On behalf of those kids, thank you. Okay. Stop motion. That would take so long. So Craig, what will happen if we get more than 120 attendees? So I'm capping it where it's at in terms of space. Friday night could have had a fifth game, and I'm going to rent the hall for the whole of Saturday rather than. That was a big mistake on my part. I didn't think it through. I wanted to be cautious in expanding the space because that's expensive, right? I get the parish hall for a lot cheaper than, well, not a lot cheaper, but cheaper than the town hall. Hello, Democracy. Okay, how are you doing? It was a lot of fun. I don't know who Democracy MK actually is, but your secret spy name is Democracy MK. Mine is the Dungeon Minister. It's like we're in a secret club. I wanted to be cautious at expanding because what if the 50, 60 participants is what we get, and I rent this space, and then I have DMs who don't have enough players. I've got empty tables, and I'm out a lot of money, right? As it happens, that was not a problem. The problem was I rented it for the morning and afternoon game slots, but not the evening. So suddenly you've got lots of capacity morning and afternoon, and then it shrinks down. Chris, oh, hello, Chris. Lots of capacity in the morning and afternoon, but about just over half that capacity in the evening. So what do all those players who filled that out, what are they going to do? So if you bought a full pass, you might say, well, I could still play 4 sessions, right? That's great. But even that, there aren't enough places for all those extra people. So if I had rented the hall for the whole day, then you could justify a day pass. And some people did still buy a day pass and played in 2 games or 2 games there and 1 in the hall, but you'd be able to have more games. People could buy day passes and be assured of 3 games. They could play all day long for 1 day. So they'd buy a day pass and it'd be fine. And the people who bought the full passes would be the ones who'd be taking up the capacity that the church hall has. Whether they were playing, it doesn't matter where they were playing, just in terms, which building they were playing in, but in terms of the capacity, the carrying, capacity of those buildings, increasing it for a full day would, make far more sense. Hello from Australia. Hello back to Australia. It really was. This was CleriCon 3. CleriCon 3. Did you have any merch from the con? Did you print shirts this year? I did not. There are 2 varieties from previous years. There's the first year's kind of basic CleriCon, and then there's last year's old school Rides Again shirt. Somebody came wearing one, and did they have a travel mug or they had something else as well. Yeah, and partly road much to be perfectly honest, because the design that I really loved, I'd already given to Bill for his guac convention. I'm like, well, I don't want to steal the design back. I may ask him, it's okay if I use it for next year, a year apart. That's acceptable. I don't want to steal his thunder. But yeah, so the Sunday went, the games went well. Small back on Saturday, the small technical hiccup in the live streaming. It didn't happen in my game, so I'm thinking it's an overheating issue. One of the cameras pooped out for both for Mage at 2:45 and for Bandit at 8:00 at night. We had 3 cameras set up, and one of the cameras pooped out. And the trouble with that is that I had one aimed down, kind of roughly down the table, a little off centered so that it wouldn't be blocked by someone sitting at the end of the table, mostly to get the DM and a few of the players. But then the other 2 crossing the table so that all of the players would be visible. So you lost half the table. Good night, Grumpy. You have yourself a very good night. Thank you for all your help. Thank you. Your help, your like hands-on doing stuff help, but also your sort of calm presence in the midst of the chaos. Thank you. Yeah, I still have 1 HP shirt. I like that one too. I'm glad you like it. Thank you, Death Angels. Are you? That's awesome. That's cool. Is it Death Angel Shadows on that account you're doing it? You say we're, so I don't know if you are partnering with someone else on a different account. Let me know, because I'd like to see that. That would be awesome. 4 color concepts. There you go. You bring your T-shirts, you bring your copies, you put one on the auction or in a raffle or something. Get the name out there. Everyone who played it told me it was a fun game. So there's that. Yeah, what channel? And then Sunday wrapped up. It wrapped up like they all wrap up, in a kind of a sense of, that was cool. A few people lingering around, at the end. Slan, busily settling accounts with people. People who won silent auctions, paying for stuff, and it was great. It was really, really, really great. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I have an official list of thanks to make, because I knew I would still be a bit tired. I did get a full night's sleep last night. I hit the hay again at like 11 o'clock, and I didn't get up till about 7:30. I didn't get back to sleep because of worrying about the keys, but I did get 8 hours, which is, first thing. In thanks, Sci-Fi for Me TV. That's a YouTube. That's a YouTube account, or is it a? Anyway, Sci-Fi for Me TV. So my official list of thanks. Okay. First of all, patrons. The patrons who are patrons of this channel, thank you. The ongoing support through the year is what makes the convention possible. And I'm really not talking from a financial perspective. I'm talking about from a justifying the existence of the con to myself. And the only reason anyone came to the first one was because of the YouTube channel, right? Other people may have heard that it was happening, but it wouldn't have happened without the YouTube channel. It wouldn't have happened without the people who subscribe and follow and watch saying, yeah, I'd come if I could. I will come. I'm coming. So there was a lot of people who showed up because of this channel. And this channel is made possible by the patrons. So first of all, the patrons and the DMs. And I have scoured the list, and I hope I did not miss anyone. If I did, it's because I am tired, not because I don't appreciate your work. Sonic Decay, David Rollins, Toby Laws, John, Tale of the Manticore John, Claude Limburger, Robert Stufford, Bear the Gen X GM, Grognardia, James from Grondardia, Judge Rumble, Craig Bragg, Vince/Ball, Doug Sinclair, James Hastings. This is Bob Hastings' son, and he ran the war game. Grumpy Old Slan, of course. Michael Duke, Rick Whizzer, Arcane Outcast, Mage's Musings, Bandit's Keep, Mage, Bandit, and Tale of the Manticore, and Robert, and let's see some of the others who've been Sonic Decay, Grumpy, but not as a DM, but Grumpy, Michael Duke. These are people who and Justin Moharab as well, who have been with me from the beginning. Justin got sick at the last minute, and I have to say a special thanks here to Bear, because at the last minute I got an email saying, I'm sick, I can't come. And I think, do I have to run another game? I said, no, I've learned from the last time. See if there's anyone else who can. And I walked out and I said, outside of the hall, and there's a few of the DMs were gathered around. I said, can anyone run a game at short notice? I've got a guy who's sick. And he can't come. And Bear said, I'll do it. And if you know Bear's personality, he comes off as real grouchy and but he's the sweetest man. And he'll hate me for saying that, but he's the sweetest guy, and he jumped in. Yes, Chris Engler. David was last year, he didn't DM the first year. He came the first year. He didn't DM the first year, but he's been around from the beginning. I'll talk about the growth rate in a bit here. Where was I on my list? Okay. Arcane Outcast, Mage's Musings, I said, Bandit's Keep, Chris Engler, Ye Old Geek, Justin Moharab, I mentioned, and my boy, Fleetwood, who ran for the second year. So to the DMs, even the ones who, like poor Justin, and you know what, Hex Press, actually, because he prepared to come, and he just, not last minute, but relatively close to the date, found out he couldn't. Even because they prepared and they put work into that. And Justin did send along a link to his game for all the con participants, all the people who showed up. I should make it available to the people who gamed online as well for a free copy of his game, which I think was very generous. Also, I want to thank the people who donated things for the auctions, and this includes the Bob Hastings auction. Now, I know how much money all of the auctions brought in. What I don't know is which ones are for the Bob Hastings Memorial, the donation to the Cancer Assistance Society of Halden Hills, and which are to support the con, because I left those papers on my desk at work. So tomorrow I'll go in again, and then I'll remember to get them, and then I'll be able to calculate this, let y'all know. But Dirty Basement Terrain, a huge amount of stuff. All that stuff, including things that were both his woolly mammoth miniature, which was gorgeous, and the creepy baby head ornament. Marcus Peddle, sent a first edition monster manual. It was in near mint condition. The only thing that really drew it away from mint condition was actually the best part of it. Inside the cover, it was a gift from his brother, and his brother had written a message in there, and it was so charming and wonderful. This sort of like, a kid played with this back in the day, right? This isn't like, reprints are fine. They're great. Print on demand is fabulous, but there's history here, and it was so well cared for. Marcus is in South Korea. He saw something about Bob's death and about, we're going to do an auction items to make a donation in his name. He sent the thing from South Korea along with some very delicious treats, some little snacks, his little cakey things. So thank you, Marcus. Bandits Keep put a whole bunch of books in that for that auction, as did David Rollins. Ooh, David brought the boxed set, the Beckme boxed set. And I was like, ooh, I want to bid on that. Ooh, I want to bid on that. And I didn't, because I thought if I bid on that, there's the potential, because this has happened to me before, of people seeing, well, the organizer of it, and, he's bidding on it, so we won't bid on it to let him win it. This happened at an auction for a toaster oven, right? And it should have raised more money, which is the idea. I didn't want to put that kind of break on it. Maybe for a box set, the only thing not in there was the dice and the crayon. Maybe for that, people wouldn't have been so careful not to, but anyway. But that was in there as well from David. I think those were all the things in the Bob Hastings auction. I think they were the people who the Monster Manual. Was it $80? Somewhere around that. It was a decent price. It was a decent price. Still a good price for the person who bought it. Still a deal for them. Still a good deal for the person who bought it, but a good chunk of change for the donation. Death Angels found me through Dungeon Delver, who's a class act guy and ran an online game for us. Okay. Finishing the thanks, the vendors. I want to thank the vendors. You add a dimension to the convention. First of all, it becomes a real convention if there's vendors, right? I know that sounds silly, but without it, it's a bunch of guys playing games, and that's fine. That's beautiful. I say guys. They're actually, I'd say, probably more women there this year than ever before. That's fine. A bunch of people playing games is great, but there's something a bit more when you can have vendors. Plus you bring cool stuff. So BS Games, who's been there from the beginning, first CleriCon, they were there. They've been there all 3 years. And they say they're planning to come back for year 4, which is awesome. They have great games. They're Survival of the Middleist. I think Survival of the Middleist is really funny and fun. Rhiannon, the artist who was drawing the wonderful pictures. One of the prizes for the Clayorama tournament was going to be a picture of your monster, but she won, so she just drew herself a picture. Whimsical Squid. My boys loved Whimsical Squid. They both Touchberry and Bob Johnny bought little squishy things. Bob Johnny bought a bat, and Touchberry bought one of the gelatinous cube stuffies. Hilarious and wonderful. Great stuff. Lovely people. And I actually knew her husband, Mac, has played cello at our church before. He has an electric cello, so it's just like the fretboard of a cello, and then it kind of extends down. It's just the strings because it's electric, so you don't need the sounding. It's really cool. And SideQuest Loot. SideQuest Loot, who is sort of he goes about collecting nostalgia and interesting things. He does everything though. Car parts. You want salt and pepper shakers that look like the Hardy Boys, whatever. He finds the stuff. If it exists, he finds the stuff and connects people with stuff. He was there and he dove in both feet first. He brought the arcade game that was out in the hall. He's put together award plaques for the onion eating contest and for the champion of the con. Sort of voting on best player of the game kind of thing. He dove in with both feet and really helpful in a lot of ways and brought some cool stuff. One of the things that at the end we're winding down and the guy won some stuff and wasn't going to be there. And I said, well, you live near my brother-in-law. SideQuest. You live near. Well, he could probably bring it out to you. He's offered to do this kind of stuff. So he did. He did. He drove it out there, which is awesome. And I want to thank the people who I brought on to help. Captain Gabe. He has a YouTube channel, Captain Gab, I think it is. He does video game stuff. He's very silly, very funny. Sarah and her sister Patty, who also ran the Tuck Shop, the Touchberry's Tuck Shop. And I have a sort of in the back of my head the idea that in the main game, Touchberry is going to encounter a dwarf named Tilligren, which is Gabe's character in the game that I run here. He plays in here, and a dwarf named Tilligren with the two friends, two little halflings, Sarah and Patty, because they ran Touchberry's Tuck Shop, and then Ryan, who helped me do the load in and load out. So, if I forgot anyone. I should say I thank Slan in the role of DM, but thank you for your role in running the consignment table. Thank you for everyone who pitched in just on an ad hoc. You saw something that needed doing and helped do it. That was it was excellent, and it did make for a con that, despite the fact that I was really ran well. It really did. It really came off. There were a few hiccups. There's always a few hiccups in a big event. But it really ran very, very well. An earlier question was the growth year to year. The first year was around 50. The second was around 60. Then this year there were at one point 91 registered. We had 3 who canceled early enough that I was able to refund, but so it ended up at 88. If we had the second haul for the whole day, I suspect we could have hit 100. I suspect we could have hit 100 because there would have been people willing then to do the whole the day pass for Saturday, as I was saying earlier. So. BS Games, thank you for coming and showing the stuff. It's awesome. Sonoda is a fabulous game. Math Magician's Duel was a lot of fun. We played that the first year, and I have played. Was the one I played Survival of the Middleist? Is that the one I'm thinking of? The one where you're riding around on goofy animals? You're supposed to trying to finish second, or just in the middle, or was it? Was that another game? Because you guys have a lot of stuff in the works. Magoo. Don't eat that. Oh, good. That's good. He's a nice guy. He's a good guy. Jeff, that's good. It's a good guy. Yeah. Yeah, you guys make great games. Dinosaurs trying to finish the middle of the pack. What was the one I played at GriffCon then? With the crazy kind of Victorian animals that make random moves across the board. And there's obstacles. I think so. I think if first of all, opening night could have 5 tables. And if I got the second space for the full Saturday, because that would be another 5 tables, and just more people able to register. And that would have helped the earlier games on Saturday as well, because I think the reason some of those didn't fill up was that there would be nowhere for them to go. Yes, the racing game, does it have an? Oh, you were trying to think of a name, weren't you? I think I gave you a suggestion. I won't charge you for it. Anyway, yeah, I think it probably we would hit 100, and I don't want it to get any bigger. It's already big enough, and the smallness is part of what makes it. It's really what is part of the fun of it. Anyway, I've now yammered on for close to an hour and a half. Well, I guess an hour 20 minutes because I was a little late as we were telling jokes. I got another joke to finish it. Guy gets on a train. And it's one of those trains with the compartments, the individual compartments, like in Harry Potter and whatnot. And he gets in and he sees there's a woman sitting on one seat and she's got a bird cage next to her with a budgie. And it's singing its head off. And he's like, oh, but that's the ticket he bought. So, okay. He gets in, and this is just annoying, this bird, and for crying out loud. So he's going to try to calm down. He pulls out a big cigar. And the woman says, "You can't smoke that cigar. It'll bother my bird." He says, "Lady, that bird is bothering me. I need the cigar to calm down." "Well, you can't smoke that cigar. It'll choke the bird out." "I don't know. But birds should choke. It's annoying me." They start getting into it, fighting. Finally, she reaches over, she grabs a cigar, she opens the window and throws it out. And of course, goes back. The man says, "Oh, yeah?" He reaches across, yanks the cage open, pulls the bird out, throws the bird out. Now, birds can fly, but this train's going fast. The bird is gone. The woman's in a panic. "My bird, you threw my bird out." He said, "Yeah, you threw my cigar out. I'll deal with it right now." And the woman leans out. "Oh, please. Here he comes. Look." The man looks out the window. And by gum, the bird is flying alongside the train, catching up, flying along. And it's carrying something. Do you know what it's carrying? The brick. But you'll only get it if you were here at the beginning. That was a special treat from the people who were here from the start. The brick. You have to have been here from the start to get that. Thank you, Jeff, for coming. How cold it is up? Is it up? How cold it is up there? How cold is it up there right now? It's not warm. John, your dog Piper can hear Magoo and is looking for him. Well, Magoo says hello to Piper then. Anyway, thanks all for joining me. And again, thank you to everyone that I listed off on my list. Thank you. You're the reason that CleriCon happens at all. You're the reason that it is so much fun. You're the reason that I already know we're doing it again in 2026. And I'm this close to saying when, because kind of some of the choices have been made for me. But yeah, it was a great time, and thank you for being part of it. Thank you for being part of tonight. Have a good sleep. I'm going to try to get another night where I'm in bed before midnight, although the dog wants his walk, so it's probably not going to happen, but it'll be close. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.